I was 14 and browsing YouTube on my laptop one afternoon when I came across a very interesting video. It's a behind the scenes look at Bungie's critically acclaimed Halo 2, one of my favorite games of all times. I've always loved learning the process and work that goes into the creation of something amazing, like a good film or TV show. That was the first time I can clearly remember diving into the development process of a video game. This was my spark. A spark that many people have experienced at some point that made them go, I want to make video games. Then, a voice creeps up from behind and asks, just how on earth are you going to do that? Like art, game development is a process of learning that never ends. It requires a lot of patience and commitment in order for one to really become skilled in the field. Of course, one of the ways is to follow the countless tutorials from amazing people like Brackeys. This is a go-to channel for most people who would like to learn how to use Unity. But in addition to this, I think it's better to take a more hands-on approach in order for one to fully absorb what they've learned. The game engine is the main tool that developers use to make their game. All the programming and art goes into the game engine for assembly. Think of it as a factory, where your code and artwork are the parts that are being sent into this factory to manufacture an end product. The end product being a video game. It is important to ask yourself this question when you first start. Which engine would you like to learn first? Should you learn Unity? Maybe its main competitor Unreal Engine 4, or perhaps the rarely mentioned Cryengine 3. The truth is that none of it really makes a difference. Each one has their own strengths and weaknesses, but the general consensus is that Unity is the easiest place to start. Alongside its huge and active community in the forums, Unity's learning curve is not as steep as most others. In the end, it's really up to you. You could experiment with the different engines and find the one that's most suited for you, or alternatively, you could just start with one and go along with that. Now that you've selected game engine, you find yourself in a confusing mess of many buttons and icons and nothing makes sense. What I did to circumvent this is to essentially steal. Okay, before any of you start letting yourself in jail, what I mean by this is for you to just simply download a complete project off the internet. You then slowly break down apart the various aspects of the project until you get the hang of it. Models, lighting, and so on. You can even tweak various attributes on the scripts and make your own version of the same game with those tweaks. Just don't start posting them to Steam unless you want to be branded an asset flipper. There is one thing that I always keep in mind. Google is your best friend. For every single problem I face when developing, I tend to turn to Google for help, and not only to try to resolve the problem, but to understand why as well. There is even a method as to how you would want to approach Google. Break down your issue if it's huge. Rather than asking, how do I use this game engine? Try asking many small questions instead. Break down the issue. How do I navigate in the 3D view? How do I change the lighting settings? What is a navigation mesh? And so on. It may be a lot to absorb, but it definitely beats asking a general question. By compartmentalizing the learning process, you find that it is easier to figure things out. Programming, or coding as some people may call it, may come hand in hand with interface, depending on the engine you're using, and to me, is the most difficult part to learn. However, programming is essential to every game. Without programming, there will be no game mechanics for you to play your game. Programming determines your game's logic and systems. This is also where most people give up learning game development as a whole, as it is just that difficult to them. There isn't really a best way to go about doing things, so I'll just give a brief overview of what I personally did. What I did is to just force myself to go through with a multiple parts tutorial series to at least learn the basics of how programming works. After each part, I'll review my code and try to understand what I just did. With a good tutorial creator, you will more or less have an idea of what is going on. Despite this, you may still be slightly confused with certain terminologies. You may want to turn to Google for help again, but this time you search for the terminology that you don't quite understand what it means. Don't try to go through all the parts of the tutorial series in one go, because you probably won't be able to absorb every detail. I highly suggest you force yourself to stick to just one part each day. Follow the tutorial and then spend the time afterwards to review what you just did. Repeat this with each subsequent parts until you are done with the tutorial series. This way, learning programming won't be too overwhelming for you. You should be able to grasp the basic concept and format of programming. If you are still finding it difficult, try a different tutorial or use code from the project you stole earlier as reference if it is relevant. It is no secret that the indie game industry is expanding rapidly with so many talented and skilled people in the community. This community thrives beyond the forums or game development websites. They also exist among social media groups. It would be wise to join such groups that can be found on sites such as Facebook or Discord. By joining these groups, you pretty much have instant access to the collective knowledge of experienced developers. Some key points when asking in these groups. Firstly, do not pretend to understand things that you do not. You are there to learn. Ask away. Some people may find it annoying after a couple of times, but there will definitely be others who are more than willing to help you out. Secondly, pay attention to questions asked by other members. Although the question may not be relevant to you, it might still be useful to learn the answers to it. Lastly, don't ask how to make a game. It gives the impression that you are incapable or unwilling to learn, and will usually just send you off to a tutorial channel. Break down your questions further. If you want to make an FPS, try asking, how would one go about coding a gun system? That said, it will also be a good idea to make friends with others, newbies and veterans alike. That way, you will always have someone to look out for in the instance that you need help. Learning game development is an arduous and tiresome process, one that takes a lot of effort and even greater amounts of discipline. But if this is really something you have always wanted to do, it will pay off. Even after you are at a point of time where you feel like you are able to do game development on your own, it is important that you do not stop learning. Learning is an endless process and you have to always keep finding ways to learn about new stuff. Attend gaming dev conventions or listen to GDC talks. Watch YouTube channels that teaches you about game development. There have never been a greater time in the history of game industry to get in on the action. Independent games are breaking records and taking the front stage ahead of AAA games. All one needs to do is to take that first step into the industry. I have a quote here from Martin Luther King Jr., who once said, "If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward." Good luck and happy learning! Hi everyone, this video was requested by Steven Hapan. He is a donor on my Patreon page. This is my very first attempt at video essays. I was just trying to find ways for me to be able to share my knowledge on game development to everyone. And I'd like to apologize for any grammar mistakes and myself mumbling sometimes in the video. My English isn't really that good, and I believe I might have some problems with speech. It's just the way I speak sometimes. And I'd also like to apologize for my audio quality. I know it's not that good because currently I'm using the microphone from my headset, which isn't really that good. It isn't a really proper equipment for videos like this, so I'm really hoping to be able to afford a better one. I'd like to know what you guys think about the video. Just let me know in the comments below, like ways I can improve and so on. And if you guys are not aware, there's a Discord on my channel. I'll leave it in the description, and my Patreon page as well, where you can contribute to support me, and hopefully I'll be able to make better videos than this one. And thank you for watching.